Good afternoon, students. Now, in this session, we will discuss chapter 3 and your topic is being a good citizens. Okay. And in this chapter, we will mainly discuss about citizens, rights, duties. Okay, citizens and aliens we will discuss. These are the terms that we will discuss in this chapter. Okay, who are the citizens? Simply the questions. Yes, who are the citizens? The people who are residing in a particular geographical boundary. These peoples are called the citizen in our general sense, right? But exactly it's not. Okay, so what's the actual meaning of citizens? So we will discuss in this chapter. People who stay in India permanently or loyalty to her and enjoys various political rights guaranteed by the Indian constitutions are the citizens of India. So in this line, just underline political rights. So citizens are, be very careful and concentrate. Citizens are those people who are residing in a country but they enjoys the political right. Okay, political right. There are types of rights we will discuss later. Okay, I'll come here. So political right, the peoples who enjoys political rights of a particular country, these peoples are called the citizens. Now what is political right or what are political? Mainly political rights means right to vote. Remember this is the very important. Okay, so the people who enjoys the political right means who have the right to cast their vote. Only these peoples are considered as citizens of a particular country, not all the peoples. Okay, so the people who are residing in a country enjoys the political right, mainly right to vote. These peoples are the citizens of the country. In 1955, the Parliament passed an act named the Citizen Act. Citizen Act in India was passed in the year 1955, the first Citizen Act 1955. This is also known as 1955 Act or the Citizens Act. According to that act, the following persons are the citizens of India. Number one, those who were born in India. Those people who were born in India, they were considered as citizens according to the Act of 1955. According to the Act of 1955. This is also known as Citizen Act. Okay? Citizens Act. So number one point, according to this Act, those who were born in India. Number two, those whose parents or grandparents were born in India. Number three, those who had lived in India for not less than 5 years. Okay, means before 26 January 1950. 5 years before means the act was passed in 1955. 5 years before means 1950. Understood? So, next point, okay, number one, I am repeating once more, according to the Act of 1955, those people were considered as the citizen of India. Number one, those who were born in India. Number two, whose parents or grandparents, they were born in India. Or number three, those who lived in India for not less than 5 years before 1955, means 1950. Number four, those who had migrated to India from Pakistan before 1950. So those people were also considered as a citizen of India who migrated in India before 1955, means in 1950. And the last one, a person born outside India on or after 26 January 1950 becomes an Indian citizen by descent. At least one of the parents is an Indian citizen at the time of birth. Okay, so there are 5 different arenas through which one can acquire the citizen of India according to the Act of 1955. But mainly now in India we have 2 different modes to acquire citizenship. One by registration, and number 2 by naturalization. These are the 2 important modes or methods through which one can acquire the citizenship of India. Now what is registration? These are the very important topics. Okay, what are registrations? Number 1, if children or a child, okay, if children are born to Indian citizen in foreign land, they can become Indian citizenship if the birth is registered within 1 year. If a child born outside country, but if his or her registration is done within 1 year, then he or she can be a citizen of India. It's a very easy way to acquire the citizenship of, especially in the country like India. So that's why our population is increasing day by day. It's very strict in other country, but in India we have a different mode through which one can easily acquire the citizenship. Okay, so if a child born outside country in a foreign land, wherever in foreign land, but they can become Indian citizenship if the birth is registered within 1 year. Number 2, person whose parents are Indian citizens and who are living in foreign countries can acquire Indian citizenship after they return if they register their names with the collector of the area within 6 months. Another easy way to get the Indian citizenships under registrations. A person, a child can acquire the citizenships if his or her parents are the Indian citizens but they are living in the foreign countries, and after returning if they register their child's kid's name with the collector of that particular area within 6 months of returning, in that cases also he or she can get the Indian citizenships under registration method. Okay. Number 3, foreigners married to Indian citizens can get citizenship by registration. Another easy way to get the registrations, if a person married to Indian citizens, if a foreign girl is married to Indian males, then also one can get the citizen, or a man can marry with an Indian woman, he also can get citizenship by registration. So these are the easy means to get registrations, okay, to register their names as a citizen of India. Next way, another way to get the citizenship in India is naturalizations. A foreigners can acquire Indian citizenships through this process. Yes, it's another easy way, yes, for the foreigners to get the citizenship. If a foreigner resides in India for more than 5 years, gives up his previous citizenships and knows at least one of the languages, he may apply to the government of India and acquire Indian citizenships. So under naturalizations, another easy way to get the Indian citizenships, if a foreigner resides in India more than 5 years and he is aware of any one of our language, Indian language, so he or she may apply citizenship of India. So these are another easy way to get the citizenship of India. So there are two ways to get the citizenship of India. One, by the method of registrations. Okay, there are some criteria, but these criteria are also very easy. One can easily fulfill this criteria. And another is naturalization. This is the another easy way. Okay, so under registrations, if a child born in India, he can acquire the citizenship. If a child's parents, they belong to Indians, then also he or she can get the Indian citizenship easily. If a person who lived in India not less than 5 years, means the act was passed in 1955, so not less than 5 years means 50. So in that condition also he or she can easily get the citizenships. And in naturalizations, if a foreigners who is residing in India, yes, for more than 5 years, and if he knows at least one of the Indian language, in that condition also he or she may apply for the citizen of India to the government of India. So these are the two easy ways through which one can get the citizenships. Now your next topic is, what is civics? Civics, okay? Civics. You know history, our past era, geography, we learn about the location, geographical boundaries in geography, and civics. What is civics actually? So study of rights and duties of a citizen is called a civics. Under this head, we learn about the government, laws, okay, the duties of that particular country. So overall, civics is the study of the right and duties, and at the same time rules and regulations of that particular country. The study of rights and duties of a citizen is called civics. It also includes the role of government, the laws that have to be followed by the citizens, and also the various important roles that the citizens do need. So understood what is civics? Civics in the sense is the study of rights and duties of a citizen, and at the same time it is a study of the government's rules and regulations of a particular country. Next is rights and duties of a citizen. So these are the most sensitive terms, rights and duties. So we have given some rights by the constitutions of India, and at the same time we have some duties towards our states. So that's why right implies duty. Okay, so these two terms are very important in our daily life. Overall, actually there are 6 fundamental rights. Fundamental means the basic rights, the very important rights. We have 6 fundamental rights, and at the same time we have 11 duties which we have to perform mandatory towards our states. So we have 6 rights and 11 duties. It's compulsory duties, 11 duties that we have to perform towards our state. Indian citizens equally enjoy several rights. We have the types of rights. I am not talking about the different types of rights. These are the fundamental rights. Okay, 6 fundamental rights. So Indian citizen enjoys the several rights, different rights: civil rights, social rights, political rights, and legal rights. Citizens have the political right to vote, right to be elected, right to become a member of the legislative and local bodies, right to take part in the affairs of the state, and the right to hold public offices. So these are the political rights. Political rights means one has the right to vote, as I told you earlier, right to be elected, right to become a member of legislative assembly or any local bodies, okay, right to take part in the affairs of the state like meetings, and at the same time right to hold any public offices. So these are the political rights, and every citizen has the right to enjoy these political rights. If one cannot enjoy the political rights, he can't be considered as the citizens of India. They can be appointed as the permanent government service. Turn your page. Indian citizens have the social and cultural right also at the same time. We have political rights, and at the same time we have the cultural rights also, social rights also, to represent India at any international events and sports, cultures and educations. So we have political rights, and at the same time we also enjoy some social and cultural rights. Indian citizens enjoys the 6 fundamental rights. As I explained you, as I told you, we have 6 fundamental rights. Fundamental. Try to understand the term, okay? Fundamental rights. So we have 6 fundamental. Fundamental means the basic rights, the important rights, okay? So we have 6 fundamental rights that is guaranteed by the constitutions of India. So here the term constitution, I am using the term constitution again and again. So constitution actually means it's a set of rules and regulations of India, okay? Constitution is a set, okay? It's a set of rules and regulations. So we have 6 basic rights or fundamental rights. Citizens, while enjoying their rights, have to perform several duties as well. As I told you, if we have given some rights, we also have to perform. For example, just I am giving examples of our home. At our homes, we are given some rights. We have the right to move. We have the right to visit friends' house. Yes, we have the right to educate ourselves. We have the right to play also, right? But at the same time, it is our duty to satisfy, to obey our parents. So these are our mandatory, compulsory duties towards our families. So similarly, here also the constitution is like a home, okay? So sets of rules and regulation. It is provided some rights to us, and at the same time, we also have some duties must be performed, okay? If they have the right to follow their own religion, example I am giving you, it is their duty to allow others to follow their own religions. If the government of India has provided the right to practice our own religion, at the same time it's our duty to follow the others also. We do not have to interfere the others' religions also. So at one side we have some rights, and at the other hand we have some duties towards the state. The citizens, while enjoying their rights, have to perform several duties as well. If they have the right to follow their own religion, it is their duty to allow others to follow their own religions. The constitutions lays down the certain duties which citizen must discharge. It's our duties, compulsory duties. It is their duty to obey the law of the country. We must obey the law of the country. We are abide by the rules, laws of the country. For example, to pay taxes and to vote for the right type of people. These are our some important duties towards our state. We must strive for excellence. So overall, we have 6 fundamental duties. Earlier, I want to add one more point, or don't be confused. Earlier, we have 7 fundamental rights. Earlier, in earlier days, okay, 7 fundamental duties. Okay, among them, right to property was also there. Right to property is also there, but now this right to property is deleted from the fundamental right. Okay, the intellectuals, they deny to take right to property as a fundamental right, especially the philosopher, political philosopher, they denied and they deleted the right to property as a fundamental right. So that's why now we have only 6. If the question comes in earlier days, how many fundamental rights were there, then you have to write 7. But in present days, we have 6 fundamental rights and 11 fundamental duties. Okay, who is a good citizen? Another important question. Who is a good citizen? A good citizen is expected to have some quality. Definitely, to become a good citizen, one must possess some qualities. Number one quality is good citizens are thoroughly loyal to the state. One must be abide by the rules. One must obey the laws. Then only we can consider ourselves as a good citizen of our country. Number two, they obey the laws of the land and pay taxes on time. As I explained you, to pay taxes is one of our fundamental duties. It's not only the duties, it is the fundamental duties. Okay, so we have to pay the taxes on time, then only we can consider ourselves as a good citizens. Next, good citizens exercises their right to vote. This is our foremost duties. Okay, so right to vote and freedom of speech and act responsibility. We have certain rights, okay, like this freedom of speech, but there are some limitations also. So they use their voice carefully. Yes, while speaking we have to use our voice very carefully and properly for the right type of the peoples to be elected. So there are some rights, and at the same time we have some duties which must be performed towards our state. Next one, they participate in the affairs of the country, okay, and help the government to solve social and political problems. It is our duty to help the government in case of emergency. They abide by the constitutions and respects its ideal and institutions. We must respect our ideals and institutions, especially given by the government. They show respect to the national flag. Definitely, we have to respect our national flags and national anthem. They uphold and protect the sovereignty, the supreme power, unity and integrity of India. India is a land of diversity, so we must uphold our sovereignty, the supreme power, the supremacy, unity and integrity. These are some of the specific features of India. Number 7, they defend the country and render service when called upon to do so. If the government asks to help out or to provide our service towards the country in case of emergency, we must have to do this. They strive to preserve our natural heritage and protect the environment, including forest, wildlife and water bodies. It is our duty to protect our heritage, okay, like the wildlife sanctuaries, water bodies, etc. And finally, good citizens strive for excellence and are honest and sincere. So we must be sincere and honest towards our state. So these are some qualities to become a good citizens. Now in your next page, rights and duties, these are the very important points. So learn it properly, okay. Rights, political rights. What are political rights? Right to vote, right to be elected and right to hold offices. These are the fundamental rights, but these are the political rights, okay. Social rights, right to participate in the cultural events. We have social rights, we enjoy social rights. So these social rights means right to participate in the social events. Votes, duties, votes for and elects the right type of persons and abides by the constitutions. We have the right to vote, but at the same time it is our duty to elect the proper right persons. This is our fundamental duties. Among that 11 duties, this is one of the duties. Strive for excellence. Rights enjoys fundamental rights. So we have fundamental rights. At the same time, we have the fundamental duties also. Exercise rights with cautions allows others to follow their rights as well. We are given some rights. At the same time, it is our duties not to interfere the other's right. Legal right. In legal right, we have the right to constitutional remedies and obeys laws. We must obey the laws provided by the constitutions of India. And economic right, that is right to hold a government job if appointed, and right to duties, that is the pay taxes. So as I explained, as I told you, that right to property, economic rights, that was earlier a fundamental right. So that's why we had 7 fundamental rights earlier, but now we have only 6. It's not mentioned in your book, but it is very important. Okay, so earlier we had 7 fundamental rights. Note it down in your book itself. So we had 7 fundamental rights. Among these 7 fundamental rights, right to property is deleted now, and we have only 6 fundamental rights. Now next topic is public property. We all know what is public property. Public property is also known as the national property. The property used by the people of the country and collectively owned by them. So public property, those property which are owned by all, okay, these are called the public property, and public property is also known as national property. Write it down, okay. These things are built or acquired by the government. Public property is built by the government for the benefit of the citizen. For example, colleges, these are the public properties. Yes, hospitals, buses, trains, roads, parks, museums, all are built and maintained by the government and are the example of public property. So property used by the peoples of the country collectively are known as the public property. For example, colleges, hospitals, parks, museums, etc. So these are the public property. In the examples in your diagrams is shown, these are the public property used by the people of the country and collectively owned by them. The government gets money for the constructions and maintenance of public property from the taxes we pay. So government uses our money that we pay as taxes to maintain the public property. So that's why these properties are our property, public property. So since public property utilizes our own money, we should take care of them. It is our right, and it is at the same time, it is our duty to protect our public property. Historical monuments are also a part of our heritage, and that is also a public property. Historical heritage, historical monuments, these are also the public property, and we should take pride in them, and we should take care of them. For example, forts, palaces, temples, etc. Now, how do we feel when your favorite books get damaged or your favorite dress gets a strain? Definitely we feel bad. So that feeling of bad must come if our public property get damaged. Some people, for example, I am giving the example, some people steal bulbs, right, that street bulbs from the public buildings, lamp post, yes, and even the railway compartments, from the railway compartment. So these are all the evil practices, foolish activities that must be taken care of. Public property is also our own property. So as I explained you, public property, that is our own property. Yes, that is our national property. So we must take pride in them and take care of them. Public property, how to protect our public property. Public property is destroyed during public protests and demonstrations. Often we can see that. Buses and trains are often burnt down by violent mobs. People destroy railway lines to show their anger in certain situations. So we are the peoples, we ourselves destroyed our properties. Okay, transport and communication system helps the nations to connect different peoples living in far of the country. So all these public property are for our uses. So we must take care of them. The antisocial activities must be stopped since everyone suffers because of such behavior. We too must be very careful when we are using public transport. If we destroy or damage public property, we will ourselves suffer in the long run. So that is why there are some rights given by the government to enjoy such places, but it is our duties at the same time to protect them as like our personal property. Heritage. Old historical monuments, palaces, temples, caves, statues, etc. bear witness to our glorious past. For example, Taj Mahal at Agra, yes, paintings of Ajanta and Ellora, Khajuraho's, that Konark, these are the not only India's pride, these are the world heritage, and these are on the world heritage list, and these are our own property. It is our fundamental duties to protect them. The inscriptions, statues and coins also throw light on our past. Through these historical monuments, we can gather data of our past. So that's why it is our duty to protect them for the benefit of the further generations. They remind us of our past and make us proud of our culture. Because of these monuments only, India is on the list of World Heritage list. Okay, we should protect and preserve them with care so that the future generations can see and learn about our history. So this is our fundamental duties. Ancient monuments objects can suffer damages through natural degenerations also. Yes, sometimes because of the natural calamities it get destroyed. Antisocial peoples also cause damages to those ancient structures. As I explained, as I told you, they steal the ideas, they sell them, then they sell them to the other art dealers. So they often disfigure the statues or scribbles on the walls of the monuments, thus spoiling them. Okay. The Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites and Remains Act of 1950 protects our ancient monuments. So Act was passed in 1950. So according to that 1950 Act, it is our duty to protect the national heritage like temples, parks, museums, etc. Vandalism is punishable by this act. According to the Act of 1950, the such kind of evil practices, vandalism is punishable. The Archaeological Survey of India is responsible for the maintenance of the ancient monument. Underline. So Archaeological Survey of India, it is at the top. So whose duty is to maintain the ancient monuments, but it is our duties to protect them. It is not only the duties or responsibility of this department, Archaeological Survey of India, to protect them, but it is our fundamental rights. It is fundamental rights and our fundamental duties. It is mandatory for us. But our government alone cannot prevent vandalism. So it's not possible for the government alone to protect such large heritage of India. As responsible citizen, it is our duty to protect this great heritage. So as being a good citizens, as a responsible citizens, it is our duty, it is the duty of the Indian citizens to protect our national property. It's not only a national property, it is our own property. School property such as buildings, the library, furnitures, blackboard, laboratory, whatever is in the schools, it's meant for use by every student. Yes, the fee or the fees paid by the students and government grants are used to maintain the school property, so they must be taken care of with utmost responsibility. So even in the school, it is our duty to protect or to take care of our libraries, you know, the laboratories, furniture, because it is our property, our own property. It is not the school's property, it is not the school authorities' properties only, it is our properties. So they must be taken care of with utmost responsibility. It is our responsibilities. This will enable fellow students to enjoy the benefits of these facilities as well. So there are some rights and duties, okay, we have to perform. If the governments are giving some rights, at the same time we have to perform some duties towards our state. It's very simple, there's very easy duties and also a very great fundamental rights given by the Constitution of India. So if we are enjoying some rights, we have to perform our duties. Hope you have understood the chapters. So I will again summarize few topics because this is a very important and basic chapter for the civic students. Okay. So who are the citizens? Okay. I have written the term aliens also here. So don't take that aliens are someone who comes from the another planet. It's not like that. We are talking practically, we are studying practical. So aliens means those who resides in a country for a specific periods only. Okay, they come here either for some reasons, for their like as a tourist, okay, or students, diplomats, or business purposes. So there is a difference between citizens and aliens. Another term I want to add here, it is not written in your book, nationals. Okay. So who are the nationals? I will explain you, citizens means the persons, only those persons can consider as a citizens of India who enjoys the political rights. Political rights means mainly the right to vote. But in our country, there are many more who do not enjoy the political. For example, you students, yes, right now you don't have the right to vote, to cast your votes. When you attain the age of 18, then only you have the right to cast your votes. Yes. So according to this, and this is the act called Universal Adult Franchise. It is not mentioned in your book, but it's important for you, for your general knowledge also, because you are studying civics portion. Yes. So according to this Universal Adult Franchise, the persons who attain the age of 18 have the right to vote, to cast their vote, voting rights. They can use the voting rights. And in that condition only, you can enjoy the political rights. So this means you are not the citizen of India. Then who are you? Means you are also the resident of India, permanent resident of India. Your parents are born here only, your grandparents are from here only. Yes, but right now you are not attaining the age of 18. So that's why you are not enjoying the political rights. So that's why you are considered as nationals. Understood? So there are three terms we have learned today. Nationals means the persons who are the citizens. Okay. The permanent resident, don't use the term citizens, the permanent residents of the country of India, but not enjoying the voting rights. Okay. But later at some stage you will enjoy this right. So till then you will consider as the national of the state. Okay. And citizens means those persons who enjoys all the rights, including the political rights, which is the most important rights to be considered as the citizens. And the next one, aliens, means those persons who are residing in India for some purposes, like for business purposes, or they are diplomats, or they are the students. Okay, they are also not enjoying the political rights, but they are not the permanent citizens of India. So there are difference between national citizens and the aliens. And in India, it's very easy to acquire citizenship earlier. There are two ways to acquire citizenship, one by registrations, another by naturalizations. So under registrations, if a child born in a foreign land and when their parents back to their lands, and if the birth is registered within 1 year, the child can easily get the citizenships. And next conditions, when parents are Indian citizens and who are living in the foreign countries, but after returning to their own land, if they register their child names with the collector of that particular area only, in that within 6 months, in that conditions also a child can get the citizenship of India. And foreigners, any foreigners married to Indian citizens, in that conditions also one can acquire the citizenship of India under registration method. And the next one is naturalization method. So in naturalization method, it's also very easy. In naturalization methods, foreigners who is residing in India for more than 5 years and he knows at least one of the national languages of India. In that condition also, by the process of naturalizations, he or she can get the citizenships. Next topics we have discussed is civics. So what is civics? The definition of civics, the study of the right and duties, also includes the role of the government, rules, laws, that is civics. Okay, and we have studied right and duties. Right implies duties. We have given some rights by the constitutions of India. So constitution means it's a rules and regulations, sets of rules and regulations, yes. So we have given some rights. At the same time, it is our duty, compulsory duty must be performed towards the state. So I have given the example of our own home also. So we have the types of rights like civil rights, social rights, political rights and economic rights, but we have the basic fundamental rights also. The very important, basic means the basic rights, the important rights. So earlier when the constitution adopted, we have 7 fundamental rights. It's not written in your books in detail, so that's why I'm explaining in details. So we have 7 fundamental rights earlier, but the right to property, this economic right is deleted from the fundamental rights. So that's why right now in present days we have only 6 fundamental rights and 11 fundamental duties. It's not written in your book, marked down over there. Okay. Next was good citizens. How one can consider ourselves as a good citizen? So there are some criteria. If we must perform or possess this quality, then we can consider as a good citizens. And this topic right and duties, the difference between right and duties is very important for you. Page number 27, learn it in details. We have some public properties also like buses, trains, roads, colleges, hospital. It is our rights to enjoy these places, but at the same time it is our duty to protect them also. So hope you have understood the chapters clearly. Learn again these chapters, study well. You will get the clear ideas. It's a very interesting and it's a base of the civic chapter. Thank you, students. Let's do the question answer of this chapter. Okay, first one is choose the correct answer. Number 1, how many fundamental rights are guaranteed by the Indian constitutions? So it is 6 fundamental rights, number B. Okay. Number 2, which one of the following persons cannot be a citizen of India? Number A, one who has lived in India for 4 years. Number 3, who among the following are the citizens of India? Number A, those who migrated to India from Pakistan before 26 January 1950. Number 4, what is public property also known as? So it is also known as national property. Now fill in the blanks. Foreigners who come to India as tourists or on business are called aliens. Number 2, an Indian citizen has the social and cultural right to represent India in any international event. That is also true. Next, we should not pay the taxes on time. False. Next, public property make our lives more comfortable. That is also true. And the next one, that is fill in the blanks. We have just done true, false. Now fill in the blanks. Foreigners who come to India as tourists or on business are called aliens. In 1955, the Parliament passed the Citizen Act to deal with the issue of citizenship. Next, foreigners married to Indian citizens can acquire citizenship by registrations. Number 4, colleges, hospitals, roads, museums are built and maintained by the government. A good citizen obeys laws of the countries. And your next number D, that is match the following. So number 1, blackboard, that is school property. You have to match with column B, D. Those who were born in India. Number 2, Indian citizens. duty of a citizen to pay tax, fundamental rights, that is freedom of religions, and the public property, that is hospitals. Question number C. Number 1, who is an alien? An alien is a temporary resident who comes for a specific duration of time. Number 2, give some examples of school property. Examples of school property are school building, library, the furniture, the blackboard, laboratory, etc. Number 3, write a short note on civic sense. Good civic sense is important for the growth and development of any country. For any society to run smoothly, it is important that the citizen have good behavior. The citizen should keep the roads clean, should take care of public property, and should have a sense of pride and belonging towards the country they belong to. Number 4, how can we take care of public property? Maintaining the public property is the duty and responsibility of every individual. We should not destroy any public property. We should value them and take pride in them. Number 5, how is citizenship obtained through naturalizations? A foreigner can acquire citizenship through naturalization. If a foreigner resides in India for more than 5 years, gives up his or her previous citizenship, and knows at least one Indian language, then in that conditions he or she can acquire the citizenship. Question number 6, mention any 3 rights of a citizen. So there are several rights, you can write any one from the books also. So 3 rights of a citizen are political rights, social rights, and economic rights. Number 7, mention any 3 duties of a citizen. Number 1, to cast a vote, always write this point at top. So to cast a vote, this is political right. Number 2, obey laws, and number 3, pay taxes. So these are the 3 important duties of a citizen must to perform towards our states. And the last one, that is the picture study. So in picture studies, pictures are given here, okay. So this image represents an action that is both our rights and duty. You have to discuss. So right to vote is a right and duty. Citizens, while enjoying their right, have to perform several duties as well. For example, if they have the right to vote, it is their duty or it is our duty to choose the good government, correct government. Another example, if they have the right to follow their religion or to practice their religion, it is their duty to allow others also to follow their own religions. Hence, right implies duties. You can check the answers from our school's website also. So check, and students, read the chapters thoroughly at once. Thank you.